We already know that the Fire Emblem AI is bad, that's why we're able to win as players. But did you know that ChatGPT, the most advanced AI currently available online, is also really bad at Fire Emblem? You can ask this thing the most basic Fire Emblem related questions and it will do its absolute best to make up facts that remind me of myself doing book reports on books I've never read. So let's do just that. Who is the strongest character in Fire Emblem Genealogy of the Holy War? It is difficult to definitely say who the strongest character in Fire Emblem Genealogy of the Holy War is, as the strength of a character can depend on a variety of factors such as their stats, skills, weapons, and the player's strategy. However, some of the strongest characters in the game include Ira. A member of Sigurd's army and one of the strongest sword users in the game, Ira has high base stats and access to powerful skills such as Vantage and Astra. Quan, the Prince of Leinster and one of Sigurd's allies. Quan is a powerful magic user who has high base stats and access to powerful spells such as Meteor and Nosferatu. Tiltu, the Princess of Thracia and a member of Sigurd's army. Tiltu has high base stats and access to powerful skills such as Luna and Soul. Julia, the daughter of Julius and one of Selef's love interests. Julia is a powerful magic user who has high base stats and access to powerful spells such as Meteor and Nosferatu. And Luwin, the Prince of Leinster and one of Selef's allies. Luwin is a powerful magic user who has high base stats and access to powerful spells such as, you guessed it, Meteor and Nosferatu. Ultimately, the strength of a character can also depend on the player's ability to effectively use them in battle and make use of their strengths and abilities. So you'll notice this a lot where it has like these little disclaimers, like it depends, it depends on the ability to effectively use them in battle and use their stats and skills properly, because that will give it less accountability almost. Like it's trying to be right as much of the percent of the time as it can be, and such a statement, it's never wrong, but it's just the ultimate cop-out answer. But I'm glad it went all in on these characters and their very real stats and abilities. Now, this one isn't half bad until halfway through. What is the best class for Robin in Fire Emblem Awakening? In Fire Emblem Awakening, Robin is a versatile character who can excel in a variety of different classes depending on the player's preference and playstyle. Some of the best classes for Robin include Great Knight. The Great Knight class is a strong physical class that is well suited to Robin's high strength and speed. With access to heavy armor and powerful lances, the Great Knight is a formidable tank on the battlefield. It's not half bad, right? Sorcerer. The Sorcerer class is a powerful magic class that is well suited to Robin's high magic stat. With access to powerful tomes such as Thoron and Excalibur, the Sorcerer is a formidable ranged attacker. It's not terrible. Sure, there's some things you can nitpick, but in some way it's right. Dark Knight. The Dark Knight class is a powerful physical class that is well suited to Robin's high strength and speed. With access to the ability to use dark magic, the Dark Knight is a formidable attacker who can also debuff enemies with skills such as Nosferatu, just like Quan. Very good spell that Dark Knight can definitely use in Awakening. And of course, the most important class for Robin, Grima. As the Vessel of Grima, Robin has the unique ability to transform into the powerful dragon Grima. In this form, Robin gains access to powerful physical and magical attacks, making it a strong choice for players who want to take a more aggressive approach in battle. Ultimately, the best class for Robin will depend on the player's preference and the needs of their team. Players should carefully consider factors such as characters, stats, skills, and the overall composition of their team when deciding on the best class for Robin. To be fair, I'm being a little mean to it by asking for things like what is the best this and what's the best that when, even Fire Emblem players can't agree on that stuff, right? So I can ask it something more factual, something you can just check. Like if you can read a wiki, it should know how to do this. How do I recruit Camilla in Fire Emblem Warriors? In Fire Emblem Warriors, Camilla is a recruitable character who can be obtained by completing the Lady of the Lake story mission in the main campaign. Here's how you can recruit Camilla in Fire Emblem Warriors. 1. Unlock the Lady of the Lake story mission. The Lady of the Lake story mission is unlocked once you have completed the main story mission, The Heir of Nor. 2. Play the Lady of the Lake story mission. To play the Lady of the Lake story mission, select it from the mission select screen and choose your difficulty level. 3. Defeat Camilla. Camilla is the boss of the Lady of the Lake story mission. You will need to defeat her in battle to recruit her. And confirm recruitment. After defeating Camilla, you will be given the option to recruit her. Select yes to add Camilla to your roster of playable characters. Keep in mind, you may need to unlock certain characters or complete certain objectives in other story missions before you can access the Lady of the Lake mission. Additionally, You will need to have a save file from Fire Emblem Fate's Birthright or Fire Emblem Fate's Conquest in order to unlock Camilla as a recruitable character. In Fire Emblem Warriors. Yeah, this is definitely true. Like, at first, when I read this the first time, I was like, well, I don't actually remember if that mission is called Lady of the Lake, but it's kind of true you have to defeat Camilla to beat her, so maybe he got that part right. No, that part is wrong too. And then it just becomes more and more wrong as you go along. Anyway, sure, that's still a little difficult, right? Let's try something more basic, even more basic. How do I defeat Kishuna in Chapter 19X of Fire Emblem The Blazing Blade? In Fire Emblem The Blazing Blade, Kishuna is a powerful enemy character who appears in the Chapter 19X Kishuna's Challenge. Here are some tips for defeating Kishuna in this chapter. 1. Prepare your team. Make sure your team is well equipped and has strong stats and skills. You may want to consider bringing characters with high resistance to counteract Kishuna's powerful magic attacks. Use ranged attackers. Kishuna is a powerful magic user who can attack from a distance. That's why they have this long range around him, right? To remind you to stay out of his range of his magic attacks. So it may be helpful to use ranged attackers such as archers or magic users to attack him from a safe distance. Yeah. Focus on taking out Kishuna's allies. Kishuna is accompanied by several powerful enemy units, so it may be helpful to focus on taking them out first before focusing on Kishuna himself. This will make it easier to defeat Kishuna and reduce the damage your team takes. This is actually true. This is actually a good tip. He accidentally stumbled into a good one. Use the terrain to your advantage. The map for Chapter 19X features several terrain features that can give your team an advantage in battle. For example, you can use the forests to provide cover for your units, or use the cliffs to attack enemies from above. It's kind of like half right here. It's kind of funny. It's kind of satisfying when he just stumbles into a truth every now and then. There's no height advantage, but the forest is true. Use special skills. If your characters have powerful special skills or abilities, consider using them to deal extra damage to Kishuna. For example, the Astra skill can allow your characters to attack multiple times in a single turn, which can be particularly useful for defeating Kishuna. I'll make sure to put Astra on Eliwood. Thank you for giving me that tip. Remember to be strategic and make use of your team's strengths and abilities to defeat Kishuna and emerge victorious in this challenging chapter. Okay, I'm being really mean. I'm asking him facts. Like, I should ask him something he can just look up. Just something that he's just like, okay, I'm asking for this fact, what is the answer to this question? Not something that's like a strategy or something you can, it's like subjective. What's a fact? How many units can I bring to the final chapter of Fire Emblem The Blazing Blade? First, it's going to give off a long spiel. This is the book report part. In Fire Emblem The Blazing Blade, the final chapter is a challenging battle that requires careful planning and strategy to win. The number of units you can bring to the final chapter is limited by the maximum number of units you're allowed to deploy, which is determined by the difficulty level you're playing on. Yeah, Hector Heart mode, am I right? Here is a breakdown of the maximum number of units you can bring to the final chapter based on difficulty level. So he says normal you can bring 15, hard you can bring 12, and lunatic you can bring 9, but he reads it as if he has a warp minimum. Yeah, sure. FE7 lunatic mode. Keep in mind that these numbers are the maximum number of units you can bring to the final chapter, and you may want to bring fewer units depending on your playstyle and the strength of your team. Ultimately, the best number of units to bring to the final chapter will depend on your playstyle and the strength of your team. You may want to experiment with different team compositions and see what works best for you. Again, the cop-out answer. Okay, so clearly this is too difficult. Let's find something else. So I asked it how much Revelations costs, like Fire Emblem Revelations. Actually did a pretty decent job. It even corrected me that it was Revelation, not Revelations. That's pretty good. I'm impressed. Let's give it credit where it's due. So I tried to correct it a little bit because sometimes it can pick up on clues you give it. I asked him, did you know Kishuna stops you from using magic? And the answer is, in Fire Emblem The Blazing Blade, Kishuna is a powerful enemy character who appears in Chapter 19X, Kishuna's Challenge. He's a powerful magic user who has the ability to use the Gravity spell, which reduces the attack and movement ranges of enemy units within its radius. This can make it difficult for units to use magic attacks as they may not be able to reach Kishuna or his allies. However, Kishuna does not have any specific ability that completely prevents you from using magic attacks. If your units are able to reach Kishuna or his allies with their magic attacks, they can still use them to deal damage. It is important to use a variety of strategies and tactics, the filler. So this is what intrigues me the most about ChatGPT, is it clearly doesn't know the right answer, and it somehow got to this answer. And I talked to a couple people about this, and they were like, yeah, he just doesn't know context, he doesn't know right from wrong. But it's really strange and funny to me that it can come to the wrong answer and give it out so confidential. Like sometimes if you ask this bot a question, he'll just be like, I don't understand, I don't get it, please explain. And he's just like, it seems to be very conservative with regards to how definitive an answer it gives out. But sometimes it just like spits out these confidentially incorrect takes, and it's so baffling to me. I guess I just find it hard to parse that someone that, like, even if it's not a human being, it's giving out all this wrong info so confidentially. I find that so fascinating. I mean, let's be real, we're not here to look up Wikifacts, we're asking it to make funny answers. So I asked it to make a tier list of all units in Fire Emblem Gaiden. So here they are. So he starts with the units that he found first, probably. Almond Celica. He's got Delthea, May, Bowie, Jenny, Silk, Luthier, Kamui. So these are all units that are in the game at the very least. So that's pretty good. Let's get down to A tier. We have Fernand from Fire Emblem Gaiden, of course. Mycen, Tobin, Thalbar, Dean, Hestia, I think that's the enemy witch, Leon, Cliff, and Leon again. So I'm not sure if Leon is the 16th best character or the 18th, but they just put him in here twice, I guess. B tier units, we have Valbar, Saber all the way down here, Clive, I don't think you see my waifu video, Zeke, Kato, Jesse, Pala, Katria, well, Pala's above Katria at least, Katarina, and then Matilda. C tier units for Gaiden again, we got Largo. I don't think Largo is even a boss in this game. I think that's, yeah, he's an FE5 as a boss, but he's not an FE2. Tobin, Gray, Sonya, Atlas, Roger, and Est. And then for the D tier, we have Barst, Duma, and Milla. And this tier list is based on unit stats, skills, and overall usefulness in battle. It is important to note that the strength of a unit can depend on the player's strategy and how they choose to use them in battle. Some units may perform better in certain situations or with certain builds, so it's important to consider how many words I need to put in this answer. There you go. So I asked him, like, hey, is Barst playable in Fire Emblem Gaiden? And he goes, in Fire Emblem Gaiden, Barst is a non-playable character who appears as an enemy unit in the game. He's a powerful fighter who appears in several chapters as a boss or an enemy unit, and he can be challenging to defeat due to his high stats and powerful units, or powerful skills. And then he gives a bunch of more cop-out answers, so generally speaking, he has a lot of trouble with Barst. So I asked him, who is better in Genealogy of the Holy War, Sigurd or Barst? Genealogy of the Holy War is a Japanese tactical role-playing game in the Fire Emblem series developed by My Word Limit. The game features two main protagonists, Sigurd and Barst, who lead different armies and have their own storylines. As far as which character is better, that is subjective and can depend on the player's personal preferences and playstyle. Some players may prefer Sigurd because of his strong sense of justice and his ability to recruit a diverse range of units, while others may prefer Barst because of his brash personality and his ability to recruit powerful knights. Ultimately, it is up to the players to decide which character they prefer. Yeah, the title was a bit clickbait, sorry. Is Barst better in Genealogy of the Holy War or in Radiant Dawn? Now, Barst is a character in the Fire Emblem series, He appears as a minor character in Genealogy and a boss character in Radiant Dawn. In Genealogy, he is a member of the Augustian army and the leader of the Border Corps. He is a strong and determined fighter who is loyal to his country and his prince, Sigurd. In Radiant Dawn, Barst is a boss character who appears as an enemy in the game's Tower of Glory chapter. He is a skilled warrior who fights with a powerful axe, and he is accompanied by a group of powerful knights. It is up to the player to decide which game they prefer Barst in, as the character's role and abilities may vary depending on the game. And here, I asked him what's the best way to defeat Selma in Fire Emblem. I forgot where I got the name Selma, but, you know, ChatGPT found it. Selma is a boss character in Fire Emblem Genealogy of the Holy War game. She is a powerful warrior who wields a sword and is accompanied by a group of powerful knights. To defeat Selma, you will need to have a well-rounded team with a variety of different unit types and weapon types. Here's a few tips that might help you defeat Selma, and then it comes up with a bunch of non-existent advice that is like generally good or nonsense. You know the drill, right? Generally speaking, I think if you presume that there is a relationship between two characters, even if there isn't one, he'll just make one up. Or if there is one that you already know exists, he'll try to make one up, but if he doesn't know what it is, he will definitely do his best to come up with something off the top of his head. You know, the book report. For example, I asked him about what the relationship is between Lachesis and Elliot. In the Fire Emblem Genealogy of the Holy War game, Lachesis and Elliot are characters who are related to each other. Lachesis is Elliot's older sister, and she is also a member of the Augustian army. Lachesis is the leader of the infantry corps, and she is known for her calm and collected personality. She's a skilled warrior who wields a sword, and she's a valuable member of the Augustian army. Elliot is Lachesis' younger brother, and he's the leader of the Cavalry Corps. He is a brave and loyal warrior who is known for his skill with a lance. Both Lachesis and Elliot are important members of the Augustian army, and they are deeply loyal to their country and their prince, Sigurd. How does Eldigan fit into all this? Eldigan is a character from the game. He is the prince of the kingdom of Isaac and the leader of the Isaacian Knights. Eldigan is a skilled warrior who wields a sword, and he is known for his noble and chivalrous nature. He appears as a recurring character through the game's first generation, and he can be recruited by the player as a playable unit, I wish. Eldigan is related to both Lachesis and Elliot through his sister, Erinys, who is married to Elliot. Erinys is Lachesis' older sister, making Eldigan Lachesis and Elliot's brother-in-law. How about Julia? Julia is a character in the Fire Emblem genealogy of the Holy War game. She is a member of the Loptirian cult and the sister of the cult's leader, Chagall. Julia is a powerful sorceress who wields dark magic, and she is known for her cunning and manipulative nature. She appears as a boss character in Chapter 7, the final battle, of the game's second generation, and she must be defeated in order to progress through the chapter. Julia is also mentioned in the first generation, as it is revealed she was once a close friend of Prince Lewin of Granville. The two were romantically involved. However, Julia ultimately betrays Lewin and joins the Loptirian cult, leading to a rift between the two characters. So I asked him about a bunch more stupid lore, but I'm gonna give you one more just to finish the video off. I asked him what the 12 holy weapons are that he referred to earlier. I don't have that on recording, but he did eventually bring up the 12 holy weapons in the context of genealogy, which is impressive. In the Fire Emblem genealogy of the Holy War game, the 12 holy weapons are a set of powerful magic weapons that are wielded by the 12 Crusaders, a group of heroes who fought to bring peace to the continent of Jugdral during the Scouring, a great war that took place 1,000 years before the events of the game. The 12 holy weapons are Durandal, a sword wielded by the Crusader Hector, Aureola, a tome wielded by the Crusader Raphael, Alondites, a sword wielded by the Crusader Arvis, Belmung, a sword wielded by the Crusader Njoron, Valflame, a tome wielded by the Crusader Thrud, Gungnir, a lance wielded by the Crusader Othin, Mjolnir, a tome wielded by the Crusader Heimdall, Turfing, wielded by Lewin, Forseti by Fjalar, Gaybog by Loptir, and then I think he ran out of names because now we have Mjolnir 2, a tome wielded by Crusader Heimdall 2, and Gungnir 2, a lance wielded by Crusader Othin 2. Each of these weapons is imbued with powerful magic and is capable of dealing significant damage to enemies. The holy weapons play a significant role in the game's story, and many of the characters are searching for them in order to wield their power and bring peace to Jugdral. Now I even asked him, like, what's the difference between Mjolnir and Mjolnir 2? Like, if Mjolnir is so good, why is there no... Oh wait, and he made up a bunch of shit here. The funniest part I think is when I asked him for the difference between the stats, and he made them up too. And this is, I think, where we can draw the connection to AI-generated articles, like on The Gamer and whatever other, like, Game Rant, stuff like that. This is probably roughly how they get the material for their articles when they're listing, like, very wrong stats and like facts in their articles. This is probably how they get it. AI like this. They probably generate an article, rewrite it a little bit, and then post it on their website, add a couple of stock images or trailer screenshots that are completely unrelated, and that's their article. That's probably how they write that stuff. I'm probably not the only one who was reminded of those websites when I was reading through this. Anyway, looks like we, as Fire Emblem players, have nothing to fear because AI is still stupid as ever. Thanks for watching.